Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are going to talk about Jehu and his coup. And you ever have a friend or know somebody who's known for their crazy driving? Jehu was known for his crazy driving. So that's your fun fact for the day. Um, so we are in 2 Kings 9. So historically, Jehu uh, put together a military coup against the Amorite family, who were in charge of Judah and Israel. It was like a second cousin or something reigning in Israel, but we're more focused in Judah. And so Ahab has died. So Omri was the father who started the reign, the dynasty. And then one of his sons, Ahab, became the king after that. And Omri had married Ahab to Jezebel. And Jezebel was biblically a very wicked woman. Historically, she's a very strong woman. She had a lot of influence. A lot of people think that makes Ahab a weak man. He was not a weak man. He was a brilliant tactician, military wise. He did great buildings like infrastructure within his territories. He just was not a godly man. So theologically and biblically, he's the bad guy. But because Jezebel is so overbearing, people usually viewed him as like weak. I don't think he was weak. My personal opinion, I think he was probably madly in love with his wife and or afraid of her. Or maybe both. I mean, because Jezebel had a lot of power, a lot of sway. She was able to get elders of the communities and military people to follow her. And we're going to see in a minute that Jehu alludes to her practicing witchcraft. So she probably did use fear as a major tactic, whether it was spiritually or naturally, because she would kill people or have them killed. Anyway, that's my side note. So Jehu is a commander in the army, and it says that Jehu was with the other commanders in the army hanging out, and Elisha had sent a prophet from the school of the prophets to Jehu, and he says, you need to go anoint him to be king, but anoint him away from everybody else. So the prophet comes and he's like, I have a message for you, commander. And he's like, well, which one? We're all commanders. He's like, you. So they go off apart, and the prophet anoints him to be king. He says, you're going to be king, and God's going to use you to destroy the family of the Amorites because of all their evil deeds. And yeah, you're going to be king. So Jehu's like, okay, cool. So the guy leaves, and the other commanders are like, so what do you have to say? Jehu's like, you know those type of guys, whatever. And they're like, no, really, what do you have to say? And he said, I was going to be king. And the Bible says they all like knelt down and were like, okay, all hail the king. So, and Jehu kind of took that as his signal. He's like, okay, if you're really with me, let's go do this. And so you got to remember, he's a military man. So he sets off to where Joram is. And Joram had been fighting in a battle, and he'd come home to heal from his wounds. And as I'm going to say the guy's name wrong, Ahaziah was also there, who's, I believe, his cousin, who's the king of Israel. So anyway, Jehu starts taking off, and he was like, hey, if you guys are really for me, don't let anybody leave to warn them ahead of time. So he starts making it to Jezreel. Oops, sorry. And so the king, the watchtower at Jezreel is like, hey, there's like troops coming. So Joram's like, hey, well, send out a horseman and see what's going on. So the first guy rides out, and he says to Jehu, the king wants to know if you come in peace. And Jehu looks at him, and he's like, what do you have to do with peace? Get behind me. And so the guy falls in line with Jehu, right? So the guy in the watchtower is like, whoa, that was weird. The king's like, what happened? So he tells him. So he's like, okay, send another guy. That was weird. So he sends the second guy, and the same thing happens. And so the guy in the watchtower tells Joram, he's like, it happened again. He's like, But the guy is driving like a maniac. He's driving like Jehu. I think it's Jehu coming. And so the king goes out to go meet him, and he's like, are you coming in peace? What's going on? And Jehu goes, how can there be any peace when your mother, who practices witchcraft and kills everybody and is an idolater, is still living? And Jehu's like, or I'm sorry, Joram's like, oh, bad news, this guy's about to kill me. So he gets in his chariot and starts to run away, and he yells at Ahaziah, hey, treachery, this guy is going to kill us. And Jehu does. He kills both of them. So then he starts making his way to Jezebel. Now, so there's some interesting little debates that go on with this next scene, about this next scene in the Bible. So the Bible tells us that Jezebel heard about what Jehu was doing, and while he was coming, that she fixed her hair and she put on her makeup, and she positioned herself in her window so that when he came up, he would see her like this, right? So there's a tile, like a plaque. It's called The Woman in the Window. And a lot of people argue that that was like fashioned after Jezebel. However, that's not quite right. There is an argument that that it's a picture of Ashtoreth, who was also a queen, who was a goddess, and one of the way people worshipped her was like through their prostitutes. So that's weird. We won't get into that. So they're saying that Jezebel positioned herself like this goddess, because prostitutes painted their faces and everything like that. I don't know. Personally, I know as a woman that if I have to like do something that takes a lot of confidence, my hair is going to be done and my makeup's going to be done. So I think in a way she put on her war paint. She's like, come at me, bro. Anyway, and so she yells down to him, and she's like, hey, and she calls him another name. She doesn't call him Jehu. Let me double check on the name for you, because so she calls him Zimri. She's all, have you come in peace, you Zimri, you murderer of your master? So Zimri was a guy from before who was known for staging a coup and assassinating a king. So she's calling him out. And he's like, so Jehu, he doesn't even like talk to her, right? And so her eunuchs are standing behind her servants, her slaves. And he's like, who's on my side? And so they kind of poke their head out, and he's like, throw her down. And they just toss her out the window. And it's pretty graphic. I mean, it says that she splat and blood splattered, and it was nasty. And it says, and he went inside and he ate and drank. So here's the thing. Like, Jehu is obviously a man of war and blood. Like, he's not even fazed by it. And so his first thing to do is go in and take claim of basically this palace, and like, as like the Lord and Master, like, bring me food, bring me drink. I'm gonna feast here. And then after a bit, he's like, oh, hey, you know what? She is the daughter of a king. She was a Phoenician princess. He's like, it's not right. He's like, somebody go out there and go bury her. So they go out to go bury her, and the dogs have eaten her and like licked up her blood. So the only thing that is left are her hands and I believe her skull. So he says, go take care of that cursed woman and bury her. But when they went out to bury her, they found nothing except her skull, her feet, and her hands. So they go back and tell Jehu, they're like, this is what happened. He's like, well, that was the prophecy. They not only was everybody going to die, but Jezebel in particular, she was going to be fed to the dogs, and there wouldn't be any remnant of her, so that nobody could be like, oh, this is the body of Jezebel. And so that prophecy was fulfilled. And so Jehu spends his time killing off the rest of the line, like everybody that he can think of, and becomes king. But so that's the story of Jehu and his coup and his crazy driving and how Jezebel died. Maybe next time I'll do the story about Jezebel and her prophets and Elijah and the fire. All right, hope you guys have a good day. Talk to you later.